Hello and welcome to Diary of a Common Man. My name is Salim Lalani. Aga Khan, an amazing global personality, a humanitarian, a spiritual leader, descendant of the Prophet of Islam, Shia Imam of 15 million Shia Muslims, a horse breeder, a royal, a business magnate, and so on and on and on. He is considered to be one of the wealthiest in the world. They say he owns a yacht, Alam Shah, worth about 200 million pounds, owns a yacht club in Costa Smeralda in Sardinia, a private island in Bahamas, several luxurious real estate around the world, a chain of Serena hotels, Meridiana Airline, stables, thoroughbreds, jewelry, private jets, and so on. Aga Khan is also decorated with numerous titles, doctorates, citizenships, awards. That is how we all know Aga Khan. Question is all that glitters gold? Is it possible that perception is not always reality? Is it possible that there is another side to Aga Khan that we don't know? I'm not asking my viewer to form an opinion or pass a judgment. I'm only asking if there is a possibility. If you believe anything is possible, if you are open to possibilities of life, keep watching, because we are about to enter the secret world of this most amazing, multifaceted personality. But why do I need to take you inside somebody's somebody's secret world? What is my problem? Do I have an ulterior motive? Aga Khan is happy. His disciples are happy. He seems to be doing some good work for the betterment of humanity. So, why put someone's dirty laundry out in the public? Before we get into all that, it is important that I introduce myself. It will provide a background to the purpose of my work. I was born in Aga Khani, and as an Aga Khani, I sang devotional songs declaring him to be God. I prayed to him for almost everything, from good health to financial security to salvation. I was his representative in Sydney leading a secretive religious meeting. I served in his institutions, indoctrinating young children into believing he was God. I counted the cash that is sent to him as religious due secretly. Then in 2014, I renounced the faith. It took me 55 years to realize perception is not reality. When I eventually left, I remember inviting my friends, my family, my Aga Khani friends, to have a discussion on what I had realized, but to my surprise, nobody turned up. They didn't want to talk. So I buried the issue there and life went on. Little did I know that all that was going to change in 4 months' time. I left the Aga Khani system in June of 2014, and in October of the same year, an Aga Khani friend paid me a visit. I operate a small financial planning practice in Sydney, and my friend was in a deep financial crisis. It was a classic case of a modest income and few mouths to feed. There was despair, anger, hopelessness, resentment at home. There was even an odd incidence of domestic violence. Needless to say, this was having a massive, immense psychological impact on the whole family, particularly children. And the main reason for this financial crisis was a mandatory 12.5% of my friend's income payable to Aga Khan as a religious due. This religious due is called dason, and it is one of the many commitments an Aga Khani makes by virtue of taking birth in an Aga Khani family. And if there was anyone who understood this, appreciated this, it was me. Because since childhood, we all were taught by Aga Khani institutions. We all were indoctrinated with the idea that this 12.5% belongs to Aga Khan. If we were to pay this money without fail, we would go to heaven. But if we were not to pay or even miss a few payments, we will go to hell. Anyway, I had a dilemma on my hands. What advice do I give my friend? How do I help him? How do I help him out of this difficulty? Do I suggest he stop paying Aga Khan and support his family? To an Aga Khani, this would be a very, very absurd and very offensive kind of a suggestion. I risked losing a friend if I made that suggestion. And who knows, if Aga Khan is in fact God, I could be sending my friend to hell. But on the other hand, if I was to suggest that he keep paying Aga Khan, his family would burn in real hell. Hell of fear, anger, resentment, angst, insecurity, right here, right now. What do I do? Which hell is better? The one here or the one hereafter? That was the dilemma. After a few moments of contemplation, I chose the hell hereafter. Because I'm hopeful there would be no hell up there. And even if there was, my friend would go there on his own, not his innocent family. Having made up my mind, I cautiously, politely asked him how important was it for him to pay Aga Khan. And as expected, he had a bewildered look on his face. Before I could say or do anything, he stood up, walked towards the door, turned around, looked me in the eye and said something. It is those words that is the reason why I am talking to you today. It is those words that give purpose to my work. Those words are still ringing in my ears after 6 years. He said to me, Salim, I will die. And I will let my family die, but not stop paying Aga Khan. He walked out, shut the door, and the thud of the door was a little bit louder than usually it is. And I remember sinking into my chair. My mind boggling and my head spinning. How can a man be so irrational? How can a man cause so much pain to himself and his family for his heaven or to avoid his hell that is imaginary? He gives so much pain to his innocent family, particularly his children. Children, he tells me he loves them the most in his life. And here's the best part. The Aga Khan that we know as a humanitarian, a global humanitarian, a multi-billionaire, accepts this 12.5% but has no system or no budget to help my friend in case he is in trouble. How do I know? In my 35 years in Australia, on numerous occasions, I am a witness to the fact that Aga Khanis have bailed Aga Khanis out of trouble, not Aga Khan and not Aga Khani institutions. Yes, there is a social welfare board, but as we will discuss in detail a little bit later, social welfare board is a fluffy organization. When it comes to helping people financially, it is people like you and me who fundraise on a personal level to help the brothers and sisters. Yes, financial disasters like this happen in Australia due to blind faith. It happens in a first world country, a beautiful country like mine, a financially secure country like mine. Imagine what happens in the third world countries. Imagine what happens to the Aga Khani Murids who have to pay 12.5% of their income whether they can make ends meet or not, because they have been indoctrinated beyond redemption. On that day in my office, I decided I will work. I will work towards creating awareness whether I am heard, whether I am ignored, whether I am silenced. So I began a learning journey with the Aga Khani system, Aga Khani institutions, Aga Khani scholars. I remember doing this in India, in Pakistan, and in Australia. Aga Khani scholars, they responded to all my questions with deafening silence. Questions such as, on what basis does Aga Khan present himself as the descendant of the Prophet? Questions such as, what gives Aga Khan the right to personally own the religious due when the Prophet did not have that right? What gives Aga Khan the right to promote the devotional literature depicting him as God? Questions on 2 adultery cases filed against him by his wives, Begum Salima and Begum Inara, in French courts, and Aga Khan settled them out of the court for more than $100 million. When questions are asked, when such questions are asked, the very scholars whom I have heard speaking relentlessly, I have grown up listening to them, did not have one word for me. That silence gave me the determination to get to the bottom of it. Now I wanted to learn. In case I've got it wrong, in case I have misunderstood the Aga Khani system. But here was the problem: who do I learn from? You can't access Aga Khan, although he's supposed to be a Shia Imam sent by God to guide people. But the fact of the matter is, you cannot access Aga Khan, full stop. Even his followers cannot access Aga Khan. Only a few privileged individuals, his leaders, people close to him, can access him. Now, if you can't access Aga Khan, and if his scholars dig their heads in sand, how are you supposed to learn? As they say, where there is a will, there is a way. Eventually, I found a teacher. Time gone by. They say it records everything and it doesn't forget. And unlike Aga Khani's scholars, it was willing to talk. In fact, it did more than talking. It told me a story. Story that was a world of its own. Secret world of Aga Khan. A mind-boggling world. And the centerpiece of the secret world was a cult. Not a destructive or a violent kind of a cult where you are indoctrinated into believing or killing people and killing yourself, but an extremely secretive, an extremely ambiguous and an impregnable system whose objective seemed to be making people share their incomes with Aga Khan. Let's understand, what is a cult? Cult is basically a group of people led by a leader, and the leader deploys psychological techniques to mentally captivate his disciples to gratify his or her own desires. The leader is authoritative, that is, he cannot be questioned. An ongoing transaction happens between the leader and the follower, where the leader is the beneficiary. And the transaction can be emotional, it can be financial, it can even be sexual. And most importantly, the leader presents himself or herself as a divine authority, or sometimes God himself. That is a cult. So am I suggesting that Aga Khan, a Shia Muslim Imam, is actually operating a cult? My viewer will decide that, but what I will do is to present facts with evidence that can be verified. We learned earlier that one of the main characteristics of a cult is the leader claims to be either a representative of God or God himself. It is no wonder that we have seen so many cults developing out of Christianity, out of Hinduism. These faith systems do not have a problem with the idea of a human God. But is Islam okay with the idea of a human God? In its 1400-year history, not a single cult has developed from within Islam. It is because Islam does not tolerate the idea of a God besides God. In fact, pretending to be God in Islam is the most serious sin called shirk. Now, if a cult and Islam are opposing ideas, how can an Islamic cult exist? And if an Islamic cult cannot exist, how can Aga Khan operate one? This is how. Islam may not tolerate the idea of a human God, but what stops Aga Khan from sticking an Islamic label on the front door then close that door and operate a cult behind the closed doors. In the future podcasts, we will go inside the Jamaat Khana, the place of worship where they revere Aga Khan as God. Once we get inside, we will undo each component of this cult and put it under a microscope. The highlight of this cult is the fact that not only is Aga Khan revered as the god of Islam, but Hindu god Vishnu, Mahesh and Brahma. Hard to believe? We will have a detailed discussion on Aga Khan's divinity and look at a plethora of evidence in the future podcast. But in case you cannot wait, please go to this link, read the last stanza of this devotional song, Allah Yehi Imam. That is, Allah is Imam. This Kinan is sung in Jamaat Khanas across the world on a daily basis, and in the same Jamaat Khana, money is collected. A lot of money is collected in the name of God. The purpose of my work is to spread awareness. Awareness that our beliefs may have a place in our lives, but we also have a responsibility towards ourselves, our families and our people. If practicing faith is important, if you wish to revere something or somebody as God, if you wish to share your income with someone, do it. Do it as long as it doesn't produce undesirable outcomes. Once again, practice your faith as long as it doesn't produce undesirable outcomes for you, your family and your community. Practice faith, not blind faith. My message is as simple as that. Next week, we will begin to explore the secret world of Aga Khan. Inside, we will meet an Aga Khan that we may or may not recognize. We will meet his grandfather, a genius who created this current Aga Khani system. We will meet Aga Khan's father, Prince Ali Khan, an internationally recognized playboy, a Casanova. We will learn how a follower, a scientist, an engineer, a doctor is blinded by childhood indoctrination. We will even learn the mechanics of indoctrination, which is extremely powerful. We will go inside the Jamaat Khana, a social club and a political ring, designed or disguised as a place of worship. We will learn how money changes hands in so many different ways inside a place of worship. We will even get an approximate idea of how much that amount is. We will also go inside Aga Khan Development Network, Aga Khan's charitable network, and we will learn how much of it is actually charitable and how much of it is actually for profit. If it is charitable, what is Aga Khan's contribution to it? Once we know that much, we will also explore the possibility of money laundering, investment in tax haven, and shell companies or offshore companies. Next week, we will begin a series of podcasts. We will begin our journey from Paris, Aga Khan's headquarters, to 7th century Arabia in Medina, where Prophet Muhammad introduces Islam. If possible, do not take your prejudices with you. Instead, take an open, curious, and a critical mind to learn and to enjoy the journey. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.